Oh, hello. I know, right?
Hi everybody, it's Charlie. Surprise, surprise, Ryan Reynolds just dropped a Deadpool 3 teaser for Marvel Phase 5, so I'll explain what's going on. It was probably one of the most surprising things, even though we all kind of hopefully expected that there would be another Deadpool movie. So time to freak out, we'll break it all down, and because this is such a huge surprise in a good way, I'll give away an extra copy of the Avengers Endgame Blu-ray. So as long as you're a subscriber on my channel, all you have to do to enter is just leave your best Deadpool MCU theory on the video. So what just happened? Ryan Reynolds just posted a very Easter eggs heavy picture honoring the 5-year anniversary of when the original Deadpool test footage leaked in the middle of Comic-Con 2014. That's how long it's been. It's been half a decade since we saw that test footage. It still holds up today. It's actually still really good for what it was.
Yes. Oh, hello there. I bet you're wondering why the red suit.
Within that conspiracy post that he made, though, he references a lot of MCU people and also says investigations heading into year 5, or as I call it, quote-unquote, phase 5. The point is, I love a conspiracy yarn, hashtag leakiversary. So there's a whole lot of meta going on in this post here, but clearly he's trying to say that Deadpool 3 will be in the MCU and it will happen during Marvel Phase 5. There's some more evidence from the Marvel Phase 4 Comic-Con panel this past weekend that supports this. I'll play that clip in a second. But if you actually look at the picture here, he didn't upload a super high quality version, so you can't read the really small text, but you can read the really big stuff. It's a mock investigation of people who could have leaked the original Deadpool test footage. This is where a lot of the Easter eggs are. So he's got Betty White on here because Deadpool in the comics is a huge Betty White stan. He loves all the Golden Girls, but he also named both of his katanas Bea and Arthur. A couple years ago, she also did that funny promo for the first Deadpool movie when it came out in theaters.
Once in a generation, a movie comes along that your whole family will love. If your family is a up group of kissing inbreds.
He's got Deadpool from Wolverine Origins because he can't resist any attempt to make fun of himself in that movie. Rob Liefeld because he's the creator of Deadpool. Hugh Jackman because of course you can't make a Deadpool conspiracy post without invoking Hugh Jackman at some point. Blake Lively is on here because she's Ryan Reynolds' wife in real life, and they make fun of each other on social media, especially when he's on press tours for the Deadpool movies, although I think some of their posts from the first Deadpool movie are a little bit funnier. Tim Miller's on here because he was the director of that first Deadpool movie, but he also worked at the special effects house that made the actual test footage that was leaked. Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick down at the bottom are on here because they were the writers on both of the Deadpool movies, and they were the writers that were hired years ago for the Deadpool movie that Fox did not wind up making after Wolverine Origins. Blind Al's another suspect. Taika Waititi is on here too, which is another subtle Marvel MCU Deadpool reference. Also, after Thor Ragnarok came out, Taika Waititi expressed an interest in doing a Deadpool movie in the future. Even though he's making Thor 4 next, he definitely has an opportunity to make a Deadpool movie if he wants to re-up after Thor 4. The really obscure Turk 182 reference at the bottom is actually a reference to an old movie where someone gets revenge on a bunch of bureaucrats by adopting a secret identity and harassing them. He winds up creating all this awareness and eventually is lauded as a hero by the people. He becomes the hero of the movie, even though he seems like the villain at points. So the Turk in this conspiracy Deadpool situation is the person who actually leaked the Deadpool test footage, which, if you guys didn't know, is actually Ryan Reynolds himself. If it wasn't clear a long time ago, Ryan Reynolds has never publicly said, oh, it was definitely me that did it. He's never admitted to it, but that's part of this big conspiracy joke. Like, he knows that he's the one that did it, but he's trying to make it seem like he's investigating someone else who may have done it to throw everyone off the scent. The actual story of the leak is that prior to the leak happening, going back to 2005, Ryan Reynolds learned that Fox wanted to make a Deadpool movie because before Disney got all the characters back recently, Fox had access to hundreds and hundreds of characters to make movies with, and they'd only been doing the core X-Men characters, so they wanted to branch out a little bit more. So when they got to Wolverine Origins, Ryan Reynolds campaigned to be Deadpool in that. He won the role, and originally the intent is that his Deadpool Wade Wilson character would get a spin-off directly from Wolverine Origins. About a year after that movie came out, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the people that wrote both the Deadpool movies, were initially hired to write that spin-off Deadpool script. Within about a year of that, Tim Miller was hired to develop the Deadpool test footage. They shot it by 2012, so that's how old the Deadpool test footage is. The project stalled for about the next 2 years while Fox tried to figure out whether it was ballsy enough to try and release a rated R film, So the Deadpool test footage just sat on someone's hard drive for 2 years until Ryan Reynolds leaked it during Comic-Con 2014 to prove to the Fox executives that there was a very high demand for a rated R version of Deadpool. You all probably remember that weekend. It was all anybody was talking about for a couple days, like, what is this secret Deadpool movie that you're denying us? Give us what we want. So after all the craziness, Fox finally gave them the green light to fully develop what would become the first Deadpool movie, and the rest was history. But if you were listening really carefully during the Marvel Comic-Con panel last week, there was a little more evidence that gave you an idea for what their plans for Marvel Phase 5 were, where Kevin Feige talks about things that are coming up in a really joking manner, like, here, I'm going to tease all this stuff, but we can't actually talk about it yet.
I didn't even have time to talk about the Fantastic Four. There's no time left to talk about mutants and how mutants come into the MCU.
That was all right before he announced the new Blade movie with Mahershala Ali, so he jokingly said that we don't have any time to tell you about Fantastic Four movies that we're working on or about mutants. When he said mutants, he was referring to the Deadpool movies that they'd be making and the X-Men characters that they'd be making movies with. The really good thing about all this, though, is that he's spent way more time talking about what their long-term Deadpool plans are than he has about the X-Men characters. He's been way more mysterious about the core X-Men characters. All good news, though, just to summarize what most of his statements have been, that he's a really big fan of what Ryan Reynolds and those people have been doing with the Deadpool movies, and right now their policy is basically don't fix it if it's not broken. So I think we can all agree that the X-Men are broken as a franchise. Fantastic Four has been broken as a franchise, so of course we want them to fix those things. We do not want them to mess too much with Deadpool. But because there's so much money on the line here, sometimes you just don't know until you actually see it, which is part of the reason why they did that Once Upon a Deadpool experiment, the PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2.
Why the holidays?
Thought it'd be fun.
Why PG-13?
It's a family movie, also money, also Disney.
So yeah, it is totally possible that Disney could continue releasing dual cuts of Deadpool, like at some point do a Deadpool 3 that's rated R, but then also release a home video version that's PG-13. But in terms of MCU, even though Deadpool 3 would be within the MCU scope of films, the best thing that we've heard from the Disney CEO is they do intend on releasing more Deadpool rated R films. The thing that you should take away from this, though, is that the Deadpool will continue to be rated R. The only thing that's really going to be different with him in the MCU is that they'll just give him access to characters and things that he wouldn't necessarily have had access to when the companies were still separate and Fox still controlled all those characters. But as a consequence of him being rated R in the traditional MCU films being PG-13, don't expect him to be rated R when he crosses over into other MCU films. His films might be rated R, and characters that cross over into that might be a little more hardcore, but he himself, if he showed up in an Avengers movie, which he eventually probably will, that's when he would have to be PG-13. And if you want to know what that feels like and you haven't watched Once Upon a Deadpool, check that movie out because that's basically what it would feel like.
I need you almost as much as you need me.
I don't need you at
You
all.
need me to untie you once we're done. Hey, easy, sugar mouth.
Really early speculation prediction, though, we see Deadpool 3 before we see the next Marvel Fantastic Four film. Because they already have all the Deadpool characters, they just need to write a new script and shoot it. They still have to cast the Fantastic Four and figure out what they're going to do with that movie. I'm working on an Iron Man, Shang-Chi Easter egg video that should post in the next day and a Spider-Man 3 video. Congratulations, Brett Nolfi, you're the giveaway winner from my last big video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Click here for that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness teaser, and click here for more Avengers Endgame deleted scenes and alternate endings. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. Maximum effort.